Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm filming this video on my phone, mainly because of the issue with the video cutting off with the camera, and I don't want my train of thought to get interrupted because that happens naturally. And excuse the fact that I look like crap. I just got done working out and this isn't a makeup video. Man, my hair is looking great too. And you can see my natural eyebrows for once, so. But today's video is going to be the part 2 of the Borderline series. This is kind of where I go into, sorry, Alex was texting me, kind of my personal experience with borderline and how it's affected my life. And I don't want people to think that this video is like a pity party or me just wanting to feel sorry or wanting people to feel sorry for me. I know several people in my life within the last year that I've met who have borderline. And this video is for them to let them know that they're not alone. It's for you guys. Maybe you know someone besides me who has borderline and you just kind of want to understand things better. So that's what we're doing. I'm not entirely sure where to start. I guess we can start with how you get borderline, sort of. I mentioned in my last video there's 3 ways that are suspected, you know, of how you get borderline. The first one being family. If someone else in your family has it, you're more likely to. The second one being like your brain chemistry, certain parts of your brain not working the same. I obviously have never had brain scans done, but according to a lot of research, people with borderline do have smaller amygdalas and such, which I discussed in the other video. And the third way is environmental factors. And like I said in the last video, I think this is where I fall into. A lot of people with borderline suffered some sort of traumatic event in their childhood. And I think that's kind of where I fall into. As a child, between the ages of like 3 and 5, I was sexually abused. And then my parents weren't always around. And I'm not going to get deep into that because I have a really great relationship with my parents now. Now as an adult, I realize that with the way my parents are, and for those of you who don't know, they do have like mental handicaps. They both do. So now as an adult, I realize that they did the best they could. However, I'm still affected by the way I was raised. And I'm not saying that that doesn't mean things can't change, because I don't think I am the same person I was 10 years ago. But anyways, I think that my childhood has a lot to do with why I have borderline. I feel like my symptoms started probably when I was 12. And I know a lot of people probably hear that and be like, well, that's convenient because that's also when puberty started, but I really feel like that's when it was, because that's when I started cutting for the first time, and I honestly think that's when my depression started. And a lot of people don't believe that teenagers can be depressed. It's like, oh, it's just puberty. And a lot of times, yeah, but that doesn't mean the underlying issue isn't depression as well. But like I said, I started cutting when I was 12, which is a huge thing. For those with borderline, doesn't mean if you cut, you have borderline personality. It's just one of the traits that a lot of people who have borderline, a lot of them do, self-harm. And at that point, I just wanted attention. But that's not to say that it wasn't for a legitimate reason. Like I said, I don't feel like I got, my brother nor I got, a lot of the attention and love that you should get as a child. And like I said, this isn't like a boo-hoo. There's a lot of people who don't get that in their childhood. It just affects everyone differently. Like my brother doesn't have borderline. He has his own issues. He has depression and stuff too, but he doesn't have borderline. So it's kind of crazy to me how like people can go through very, very similar things and have the same parents, and not come out with the same mental health issues. So that's kind of interesting to me. When I lived with my aunt when I was a teenager, and there were just a lot of things then that made her and one of my cousins wonder if I had borderline. And at that time, I hadn't been diagnosed yet. I wasn't diagnosed until 2013. I was 21. Took me a second. Yeah, I didn't get diagnosed until I was 21. But when I was diagnosed, I just remember like feeling relief because things made sense finally. My entire life, I've been called a drama queen, dramatic, emo, and like most of the people who have said that, like, they're kind of saying it in a joking way, but at the same time, like, those things hurt me because even if I am being dramatic, to me, in that moment, whatever the situation is, that emotion is real, and it's that intense. Like, yeah, to you, that seems really over dramatic, but to me, that is legitimately how it feels. There's some quote that's about borderline. Maybe I'll put that up on the screen if I can find it. It says something along the lines of, like, having borderline is like the emotional equivalent to having like 3rd-degree burns, because that's how intense those emotions are for people like us. So when people say you're just being dramatic, I don't feel like my feelings are being validated. And I feel like as an adult, I've gotten better about it, I'm much more self-aware because I'm diagnosed now. Obviously I'm not perfect. I still have a lot of things I need to work out, but just a lot of those symptoms made so much more sense after. I feel like I just lost my train of thought. I told you that was going to happen. And one of the things I struggle with the most, I feel like, when it comes to one of the symptoms or whatever of borderline is being impulsive. I struggle with that a lot, especially obviously when it comes to food. I'm an emotional eater. And then there was like a period of time in my life where I was having not so safe sex. I never did drugs. I drink occasionally. I don't feel like that's an issue, but maybe I should keep an eye on that. And there was a time when I was a teenager where I shoplifted a little bit, and it didn't last long, thankfully. And I don't know if that has anything to do with like my borderline specifically, or if that was just me being a teenager. I had a thought in my head and I lost it. I remember. Sorry, like my mind's all over the place and I wasn't sure how I wanted to do this video without getting too incredibly personal, but also with giving good examples of borderline. But one of the other issues I have, and I joke about this sometimes, or like I've said it to a therapist before in a joking way, is that I have commitment issues. And I feel like that completely relates back to my childhood because I have the biggest fear of abandonment, which is a really big trademark of borderline. But for me, it's not just relationships and it's not just with people. Like I've quit jobs in the past because, like, say I had a bad day or I had a bad review, the normal person would just be like, okay, they're gonna set me down, I might get written up or whatever the case may be, you know, I'll learn from it and I'll move on. But a lot of times in my head, if something like that happened, my immediate thought was they're gonna fire me. Even if it was something small, like I always felt like, even like I said, even with jobs and stuff, that I was going to be left or fired or whatever the case may be. So I would quit jobs before they could fire me. And chances are I probably wasn't going to be fired. But that's just how it felt. My immediate reaction in a lot of these situations is to run. Like, even in my personal relationships with family and friends and even with Alex, I push people away because, like, I can be open to a certain level, or like I'm very good at opening up in a jokingly way. But if someone's getting too close to me, my immediate reaction is to run. Because I'm afraid to be left, period. It's just what it is. But I feel like that's one of the biggest things I struggle with still, is that fear of being left, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So I always joke that I have a fear of commitment, but it's not really funny. Trying to get my water intake in. But I feel like that even with school, I have gone to and left 4 universities, I think. Hold on, let me count. 5? And at the time, there were different reasons and different things going on. But I feel like at the end of the day, it's not, it's that fear of, I don't know, I can't explain it. Like I said, there's been different reasons I've left each school, but in reality, I think it really goes back to my fear of commitment or sticking to anything, like being consistent. I am probably the least consistent person. And I feel like that has a lot to do with my borderline. Not that that's an excuse. I do when it comes to school. I'm not, obviously not consistent, and I still haven't graduated. I'm not even fucking close to graduating, and I'm 27. But the good thing is I'm at a point in my life where I'm okay with that, because I don't even know what I want to do if I went back to school. And I think that's part of the issue, is that I have no clue what I would go to school for, really. And right now, like I said, I'm in a place where I'm okay with that, because I'm okay with just being a mom. Maybe down the road I'll want to go back to school and I'll find something I'm super passionate about. But right now I don't beat myself up about that anymore. But and then consistency with my diet. Like, anyone who's known me for at least a year has known that my weight has been, I mean, obviously my weight's an issue, but weight loss is hard. And I don't mean it's hard to do. I mean, it's hard for me to stick to it, because I'm such an emotional eater, because I'm so impulsive. And I'm working really hard on that. Alex and I started keto again a month ago, or almost a month ago. And we paid to have a coach this month, which I wish we could afford to do next month, but we probably won't. But having that accountability has helped. And I've had a couple cheats or binges or whatever. Like, they haven't been huge. Like, I've caught myself, which is a good change. But like, I want this so fucking bad. But like, my consistency, it's an issue. And I feel like that's true of a lot of people with borderline. But I think that I have so many few relationships and friendships, because like, I don't like getting attached to people. I don't like people getting close to me, like I said. And it really sucks, because I feel like a lot of the people I'm not close to anymore, some of it I feel like actually is the other person's fault, but there's a few where it's legitimately me. Because I have a tendency to compare myself to others. And I'm not sure if that has anything to do with borderline, or if I'm just telling you my fucking life story at this point. But it's hard for me to want to be around certain people, because I feel like their lives are going so much better. And I'm really bad about comparing myself. And even if it's not true, or even if it is true, like, that shouldn't matter. Going back to like the brain thing, one of the things I mentioned in the other video is that people with borderline have a slower cool down time, and I can definitely vouch for that. If I feel any emotion, specifically I find this with myself with anger, it takes me a lot longer to get over something than it does most people. Like, I'm not saying like days or weeks or anything, but not only is my reaction extreme, but the cool down period afterwards takes a lot longer than it should. That's incredibly frustrating. And like I said in the other video, supposedly there's a cure for borderline, that, if you stick with therapy and the DBT, you can like retrain your brain. But honestly, I don't know. I haven't gotten that far in my own personal struggle with it, but I hope so. Because I don't think right now my disorder has affected my kids. I sincerely hope not. I try my best to be the best mom I can be. Like, that's my goal in life, I feel like, is to be a good mom. And some people might laugh at that, but I want to be the opposite of what I had growing up. I hope that I haven't affected my kids in a negative way. That's my biggest reason for wanting to get better, is because of them. I guess if I had to say one thing, if it's someone you know who has borderline, and maybe you're struggling in your relationship with that person, and I don't mean like a romantic relationship necessarily, is to try to understand, and obviously that person needs to try too. They need to do what they can to get better, but also try to understand where they're coming from, because having emotions that strong is incredibly difficult. I mean, I get why people always called me a drama queen or emo. Like, I get it. Maybe when I was like a teenager especially, like, I'm sure, but like even as an adult, when people have called me that, I promise you those feelings are that strong in that moment where we feel like the world is ending, because it legitimately feels like that sometimes. Like, there was a night a couple months ago where I just like was in the living room. I mean, it was in the dark, like just hysterically crying and whatever the issue was going on at the time, but like it legitimately felt like there was absolutely no hope. Like, it felt like it was the lowest I had ever been, and it was pretty close. But people, the only thing I ask is that people are patient. Even if it's not with me, if it's someone else you know, or if it's you who has borderline, to be patient with yourself. And also, I really hope that there is recovery. I hope in a couple of years I can make another video, like a part 3, where I'm doing a lot better. And I don't think I'm doing terrible like right now. Like, I mean, things are okay, but it's still a daily struggle to handle those emotions as they come in and try not to let them take over. Sorry, I'm like fidgeting. I don't know if any of that was cohesive or made any sense at all, but hopefully it gave you a few examples of a real life borderline person. And I feel like disorders and things, they need to have a face so that it helps in the stigma. I feel like, because when you just read things or hear facts about things, it's really hard to like put like a person there. But if you know someone who has that and they like tell you a few things, and I think it helps in the stigma of certain things. So I would like to extend my entire mental health series. Maybe if I know people who have certain things, I can interview them. I think that would be really cool, because like I said, we've got to end the stigma and the negativity that surrounds like mental health in our country. I mean, that's really what it boils down to, I guess. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too much. I mean, I did, but hopefully some of it made sense. I might delete this video and make it again. I don't know, especially because my hair is a mess. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy my mental health series, please let me know. Like the video, leave a comment, or message me on Facebook or something. But subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.